memories of what happened. It's difficult to answer. Yeah, I just knew that something terrible has happened, and I was in Berlin at the time. And, you know, I went out into the street and I saw the disaster, what's going on, you know. All the shops being smashed and glass everywhere and alcohol running down the street, yeah. You know, it's very difficult to explain all that. I mean, yeah, we were arrested with a lot of other people who were all sent more or less straight away to Auschwitz and didn't survive. And for some reason, my sister and I still remained in prison. We couldn't quite understand why. But I understood later that the law, if you can talk about law in Germany, was that it was preferable to be regarded a criminal rather than a Jew. A Jew, that was the last thing. Jews don't survive. A criminal would get a court case. And my father was a lawyer, and it must have been one of his colleagues who tried to arrange all that. I must admit I understood all that really much later, what really went on behind the scenes. So because we did actually criminal things like forging papers, we were classified as criminals, which allowed us to remain in prison, which was better than to be in Auschwitz. But that's how it was. So there was an orchestra, I can't call it an orchestra, a band, who happened not to have a cellist when I arrived. Very good moment to arrive there.
Yeah.
You asked me, well, we had a conversation. I said, what did you do before the war? I said, no, what did I do? I played the cello. Important moment in my life here. Well, that was a very famous family. I knew who she was. I mean, her father has been for years and years the principal violin in the Vienna Opera, a very famous man. And she was the niece of Gustav Mahler, I mean, coming from a musical aristocracy. And she was also a prisoner in the camp. But her job was to create this band. I mean, I played something, auditioned, you know. She wouldn't have turned me away if I didn't play well. I certainly didn't play well. You know, that all sounds too normal, you know. I mean, she was dead happy that there was a cellist, because they didn't have a bass instrument in there. Yeah.
What were your first
Well, we had a job. The job was to sit at the entrance of the camp, one of the entrances. You will probably know which one it is, the sign. And play marches, because Auschwitz is surrounded by factories like IG Farben, Buna, etc. And the prisoners were walking out to their work every morning, and we sat there playing marches, because the Germans like everything nice and tidy, so we played happy marches. And the same thing in the evening. This was our basic job. But what made us different from other bands in the camps, which I only learned afterwards that there was music in every camp, is that we spent the whole day learning music, because we were not a professional. There were perhaps 5 people who could play the instruments. It was a ridiculous assembly of kids who learned the guitar or the banjo or the mandolin or something. So Alma Rosé had an unbelievable task to make something acceptable out of this. I can't describe a typical rehearsal. She was probably screaming at us for playing wrong notes, you know. You know, you can imagine, I mean, a whole collection of people who... But, I mean, Alma was so strict with us and so, you know, determined to make a band out of this so that we could survive. It probably wasn't too bad. Well, that's very easy to imagine. Can you imagine thousands of people are deported to Auschwitz? Now, what would you do if somebody knocks on your door and says, I give you an hour to get ready? So you put on 3 layers of clothes, your best shoes, and you take whatever is important to you. It would be a violin, a cello, or whatever. All this arrives in Auschwitz, taken away from you, and Auschwitz was one of the richest places in the world. I remember, but it wasn't all that sinister, and I'm almost regretting ever mentioning it, because it gets interpreted completely the wrong way. People are wondering how I felt or whatever. It doesn't matter how I felt. For me, I was putting it in my book, only to show that these people were not uneducated people. Yeah. That is it. They're not, Mr. Mengele knew that Schumann wrote such a piece. This is what I was trying to say, not what I was feeling or not feeling. I was just playing it as fast as possible and get out, Yeah. Because we each had a bed. We did not sleep in these. You've probably seen these. Yeah. And we had a stove. They were marginally better. Yeah. People always ask me, what was better? Was it better in Belsen? It was different. In Auschwitz, they had all the machinery to murder people. The gas chambers, no problem. In Belsen, you didn't need any of this. You just perished. Yeah. That is the difference. I mean, it's unbelievable that we had survived, but don't think that was without problems, this Belsen afterwards. In fact, I'm going to Belsen now and I will speak about it. Because Belsen became a sort of place. You must realize there were other people were liberated all over Germany, somewhere in little camps, Yeah. And were suddenly among the German people, which wasn't easy either in those days because there was nothing in Germany. So there was a general idea, if we go to Belsen, there are organizations there that might help us continue. So Belsen became terribly overcrowded because there were all sorts of fantastic organizations in Belsen, UNRWA and Jewish Relief. There were people there trying to help in Belsen. And of course, that was well known, so people came to Belsen. Belsen became really completely overcrowded. And it existed till 1950, which is pretty disgraceful that people didn't know where to go.
Enjoyment rather than survival.
Very nice. I mean, if I think back of that cello, it's just ridiculous. I thought it was a fantastic cello. I came with that cello to England and I went for my first lesson here and my teacher said, nobody can play on a thing like that. Everything is relative in life. I thought it was, yeah.
Do you still have it?
No. In fact, I have no idea what has become of it. It's out of my mind. Whether I threw it in the dustbin or what, I don't know. Well, I always wanted to be a cellist and I became a cellist. It's as simple as that.
Was music tainted?
No. Music is untouchable, I'm often asked that question. I mean, Hitler destroyed so much, but music, no. Can't destroy that. Look, I'm a professional musician. I don't know what you call a relationship. Music was my life, yes.
Yeah. You no longer play? It's purely for listening?
No, I mean, I don't play anyway. Sometime you have to vacate your seat for younger people. I mean, I'm nearly 100 years old. What shall I be sitting? Anyway, I mean, I was very lucky to be a member of the English Chamber Orchestra. Eventually, one of my grandsons became the assistant conductor there, and another grandson occasionally played the cello, and I thought it's time for Grandma to go home now, I mean, there's a time.
You passed it on?
Absolutely, yes.
Was that a conscious to be musicians?
No, I did not want them to be musicians. I tried everything to prevent them from being musicians. I'm the opposite of the Jewish mother,
Why was that?
Because I think it's a very dangerous profession. Now, I certainly wouldn't recommend anybody. Yeah. I mean, the musical life is appalling now. But you should only be a musician if really that is the only thing you want to do. If you're still thinking, maybe I want to be a doctor or a musician, then be a doctor. Yeah. Musician must be 100%. That's what you need to do. Yeah. Very difficult. It's difficult to find anything for this. All had to be arranged for this. Really. Sort of the local pop songs, and I mean, I can't offhand this. I think I'm writing in the book various things that I could then remember. Sort of melees of operas and stuff, because there were quite a few singers there. I mean, not a particularly impressive repertoire, but yeah. It wasn't easy to actually produce music for this crazy ensemble. All has to be arranged, Yeah.
At the gates?
No, we played the marches at the gates, but on Sundays we played anywhere in the camp where they put us,
Yeah.
various places.
There was no set performance
Not,
area?
not that I remember, no. No, we played in various places. But you know, you asked me a question, it's so long